Hi, I'm Alex Howard, and first I'd like to welcome you to the first of these video newsletters. If you know anything about the Optimum Health Clinic, you're probably aware that we're quite prolific in developing new ideas and new technologies and new ways of working with people. And you may also be aware we're always looking for new mediums to communicate those ideas in a way which is easily digestible. And chances are if you're watching this, then either you or someone you know closely is suffering with ME. And that, if you're suffering yourself, it means that it's not so easy to digest and use ideas. So we're always looking for ways to make that easier for people. And that's why we have things like Secrets to Recovery, which you may be aware of, where we have fortnightly conference calls where we interview people that have had ME and got better, or we as practitioners talk about tips and ideas that you can use. And what I want to do with these video newsletters is to just really compress some of the huge amount of content we cover in that, and to put it in a way which just gives you a taster of some of the ideas and the ways that we work. So obviously we can't cover everything that we do in the clinic in these newsletters, but what we can do is give you a taste and really give you some tangible things that you yourself can be using. So what we're going to talk about today is how to set goals in a way which supports you in your recovery, which is very different to how a lot of us set goals, which is like, I must do this, and we end up putting pressure on ourselves and then causing stress, which if you know anything about stress states and healing states, you'll be aware that basically your body can be in one of two states. It can be in a state of stress or a state of healing. And if you're in a state of stress, what you're doing is you're depleting your body's energy reserves. If you're in a state of healing, what you're doing is building up your body's energy reserves. And if you set goals in the way where you're putting pressure on yourself, then that's the exact opposite to what we want you to be doing. Having said that, many of us have things that we know we could be doing in our lives to support us being in a healing state. Maybe doing regular meditation during relaxations, doing regular yoga, maybe reading material, if you're able to read, that will support you in your recovery. Or, following nutritional programs, whatever it may be, that we have things we know we could be doing, but we can sometimes struggle to really commit to doing them. And actually writing down the commitment, writing down the goals that you want to have, is a really useful way of clarifying in your mind what it is that you want to be doing. Now, the secret to doing this in a way which is going to support you towards your recovery is setting those goals in a way that you know you can stick to doing them. Anyone that's ever tried to do anything like lose weight in the past or whatever it may be is aware that we tend to set the goals so high that we know we can't stick to it, we can't achieve it. We say we're going to, if we're fully healthy, we're going to go to the gym 6 times a week for an hour and a half, that it's too much and we can't commit to doing that. So what I want you to do is set this up in a way where you know that you can stick to it. And the secret to doing that is looking at, on a day where you have really limited energy, or what you might consider a bad day, to look at what you could definitely do in that day and use that as your benchmark. Because if you know you can do it even on your bad days, you know on your good days it's going to be a breeze. And it means that you set the game up in a way where you actually build up your self-confidence in your ability to stick to this, as opposed to deplete it. So if you look at what you could do on a day which is not particularly good for you, in terms of meditation, yoga, relaxations, nutrition, whatever it may be, that setting the goals in that way and actually writing them down. When you write down goals, what you do is you really clarify your mind, and it makes it so much easier to actually sticking to doing those goals. And the next thing we're going to talk about is what we call the C word and the S word. So the C word and the S word. The C word is about commitment. Now, we just talked about setting the game up in a way which you know you can do it, but then it still requires a certain amount of commitment to actually make sure you're doing it. And I see commitment as being like a mental muscle. The more you work it out, the stronger it gets. So the more you learn to truly commit to something, and by the way, very few people in life are really having the discipline to do that, but the more that you really do that, the easier it gets to do that. And if you've read my book, you know that for me that was a major turning point of clarifying what it was I needed to be doing, and then actually committing to the process of doing it. Now, you can commit in a stressful way by putting pressure on yourself, or you can commit to things which are actually going to support your healing process. To give you an example, if maybe you take an afternoon rest every day, But in that afternoon rest, you find your mind wandering, you find yourself getting frustrated at the things you can't do in your life that you'd like to be doing. And you find yourself not really getting the best you could from doing that. But maybe your commitment could be to, in that afternoon rest, really working on relaxing your breathing, really working on slowing your body down, to really practice getting it into a healing state. And by doing that, you're working out your commitment muscle, but you're doing it in a way which supports you. And this brings us to also the S word, which is surrender. That you commit to doing the action, that you know you're going to do the things that you know you need to be doing, but you also surrender to the outcome. Because if you become too attached to the outcome, what ends up happening is you end up constantly monitoring, is this working? Am I getting the results? And you cause stress. And being able to commit to the action, but surrender to the outcome, what it means is, again, you support yourself into coming into the optimum relaxed healing state that you know you could be in. And by the way, these are life lessons that obviously for you recovering from chronic fatigue and ME, they're integral to doing that. But there are also life lessons beyond that. And this is where I always say to people that yes, you need to learn to master your psychology to support your healing process. But at the same time, these tools that you're learning become invaluable in your life beyond your recovery. So really mastering this commitment, but also learning to surrender. And part of that is just learning to really come into the present moment, to notice what's happening around you right now. Because, of course, what you want is to get your full vitality and your full health back. And with the right support and the right intervention, that's totally doable. But what you also need to make sure you have is an ability to enjoy life as it's happening. Otherwise, we rush up the mountain of recovery, we get there, and we realize that, yes, we've got the outcome, but there's always another mountain to climb. There's always something new to learn and something new to develop inside of us. But learning to surrender to the process is such an important part of that. So really, in summary to what we've been saying, you need to have a goal, you need to have an action plan that you actually write down. Then you need the C word to actually commit to what you're doing. Then you need the S word to really surrender to the outcome. And when you've got that in place, what I encourage you to do is to really use that for the next month. And then in the next of these video newsletters, we'll talk a bit more about what to do if that's not exactly getting you on track, how to really fine-tune the plan that you've got, and how to really encourage having commitment and surrender. And if you'd like more support in this, or you're interested in connecting with other people in similar situations, and also access to a huge amount more information in a really easily digestible format, I really encourage you to check out www.secretsrecovery.com. And in there you'll find that every other week we're interviewing someone who's had ME and got better, or myself and other practitioners in the clinic are talking through this kind of thing in a lot more detail and giving you actual steps that you yourself can really be following. So really encourage you to check out that website. There's quite a lot of free information you can also download to help you find out a lot more about it. So I look forward to talking to you next month, where we're talking about what we've been saying just now, but in more detail. And thanks for watching.